Well, hello. I am Jamie Neugebauer, the co-director of media for the SJHL. Clark is off coaching baseball, and we miss him, but we have a very special guest co-host who we'll get to in a minute. But first, we have to thank our wonderful, wonderful sponsors here on SJHL Insider: Cantera Seeds, Capital Auto Group, Canalta Hotels, SGEU, Sask Lotteries, UPL, Chevy, Great Western, SaskTel, RBC, the SCSA, good old Colin Puller, and Vatterstad, who make high-performance farm machinery, if you were wondering. And you know who reminds me of high-performance farm machinery? It's this guy, Ryan Gibson, the proud alumnus of the University of Alberta football team, but more importantly for you out there, the general manager of your Kindersley Klippers and a great talker who I know from my experience. Thank you so much for doing this, Gibby. How are you doing, and what are you doing?
Well, thanks for having me, Neugsie. It's a pleasure. I'm down in beautiful Burnsville, Minnesota right now, watching a little hockey, seeing what I can see, and yeah, that's what I'm up to.
All right. Well, hope you find a couple studs to bring back to the SJ or elsewhere. But that all being said, it's time to do something that usually Clark gets to do. It's the hat trick. Let's go. Very exciting. I got my player thing. Is it the player hat trick? We can call it that right now. That's fine. We'll start with the Sask Lotteries Look Back, presented by Elk Ridge. Gibby, let's look at some of these scores around the SJHL for the last couple of days. Carter Anderson's second period marker held up as the winner. In a 3-1 win for the Nipawin Hawks, Anderson led the Hawks in scoring a year ago, had not found the back of the net through the first 6 games of the season. Now has 2 goals, and both of them game winners in 2 games in a row for the Hawks. L'Orange won their second contest in their last 3 when they took down Warman. Zane Norman, second of the year, also a game winner. He only scores game winners. How about that? We'll talk about Kindersley games in a minute, but let's move forward here to Wednesday. On Wednesday, the Yorkton Terriers power play continues to cook. 4 for 5 on the night. Alejandro Montoya made 47 saves as the Terriers beat the Flin Flon Bombers in Yorkton. And again, Kindersley with a bit of a heartbreaker there against the Estevan Bruins. Absolutely brutal one there, Gibby. I'm sure you guys were a little gutted, but obviously some great resolve as well from the Estevan Bruins. Just a quick takeaway from that one.
Yeah, I think it's kind of been the story of our season so far. We play one good period and we kind of lag a little bit at other times in the same game, and that's how you end up losing and giving games away, right? Like, I think Shanice and I so far, and we talked about this last night after the game, is the one thing that keeps us optimistic about our group is we haven't seen them play a full 60 yet, right? Like, we've had games we've played 20 good minutes, 30 good minutes, 40 good minutes, not always in a row, right? Like, we're a group and how it looks. It's just we gotta continue to put the puzzle pieces together, and once that happens, I think we're really dangerous. But as in junior hockey, everything's a process, and if it was easy, everyone would do it, right? So just got to continue to figure things out and go from there.
Yeah, for sure. Now, obviously, the shootout ended up going the way, and Rylan Williams here, who just can't stop scoring, can't stop doing good things for that Estevan Bruins team. But the Nutrient division, just in general, is a real interesting one. Humboldt and Kindersley were probably the teams that people expected. We'll just watch that one. What a great attempt, but a great save by Adams. But let's cut back to the standings here as you look at the Bruins celebrate. Let's look at the standings right now in the league here, and it's going to be some real good battles in the divisions. But there's the standings for the playoff line: Weyburn and Nipawin, the 2 CJHL ranked teams at the top. Obviously, you see going down there Humboldt, Kindersley in 4th rather, Flin Flon in 5th. 4 games lost in a row for the Bombers. Estevan in 6th, Melville in 7th, Melfort in 8th. And before we get to the division standings, Gibby, like the Flin Flon Bombers, I know up in Flon, they're passionate people, they're passionate fans. I looked it up The Bombers have 10 of their last 14 games in the season at Whitney Forum. Very few games at Whitney Forum in the first half of the season. So it's easy to say, I guess, for us, Gibby, but how little should the Bomber fans panic right now?
Yeah, I mean, Regs knows what he's around a long time, right? So he's a great coach and a great GM, and he's always going to figure it out, right? I think looking back at the start of last year, they had a little bit of a lag off the rip, and then they were just fine, right? So he's a pretty easy guy to bet on.
Yeah, and some bizarre kind of road trips that they've had here. Yorkton one night. They were in Humboldt. They were in Estevan. They were in they're all over the map. These Bombers as they take road trips. Obviously, it's not going to win too many games if you give up 4 power play goals in a night. That goes without saying. And I'm sure Devin Peck and Matthew Bradley are trying to figure out how to keep the Bombers in games a little bit more. But obviously too, obviously you've seen this Yorkton team too, Gibby, and with guys like Corshane, obviously Tommy Reese on the back end, guys that we know like Jai Zawatsky and Vinny Junek. How kind of underappreciated, how underrated do you think this Yorkton team was maybe to start the year?
Well, they got a really skilled hockey team, right? Like with those guys you just said, like they're going to have the ability to score goals, and then you give them a little extra room, 5-on-4, 5-on-3, and they're probably going to score at a higher rate than they're going to 5-on-5, right? So, yeah, I think maybe a little bit of a slow start in Yorkton, but they once again they have a pretty skilled roster, and I don't think goal scoring over the course of 56 games is going to be much of an issue.
Yeah, and obviously that Bungie division, just in general, again, Clark and I talk about it a lot, Gibby. Like in terms of tight divisions in this league, hard to think of a tighter division, I think, than the Bungie division. Obviously, we took up the standings there. Weyburn, Estevan, Melville, Yorkton. All 4 of those teams will beat you on a given night. I mean, that's the way it is in the SJ, Gibby. I don't need to tell you that. You know that better than me. But of those 4 teams. Obviously Cody has, that experience from the championship last year. Estevan has those guys at the top. Doug Johnson could coach anybody to do anything. And we've talked about the skill for the Yorkton Terriers. If I were to put you on the spot, which of those 4 teams do you like just a little bit more right now?
Oh, Neugsie. I don't know, to be honest with you. Like you say, like all 4 of them have their qualities, right? And I haven't seen Melville or Yorkton as much as I've seen the other 2 yet, but it's like you say, and anyone can beat anyone on a given night in this league, and I think that's the beauty of it, right? Is there's no you can't take anyone lightly because you won't win, right? And it's easy to think you got 2 points locked up before puck drop, and you leave the rink 0 points. So I think for the league as a whole, it's too early to pick anyone in any division for anything, because we're going to see the standings change on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis from now until the middle of March.
Hey, it's not like I asked you for an injury update or anything, Gibby. Like, you don't have to come at me now. Just kidding. It's all good. Come at me. That's good. That's what the fans want. Last team we'll talk about before we move on is a team that's really impressing me. And I talked to Kevin Kaminski and the L'Orange Ice Wolves a couple days ago. He's got all these 07s. You think of, Evan Clark, Matthias DeZen. Obviously, they had Perosny, a little bit older. They got the Zezel kid in net. They got the veteran Brown, in net. You know better than me, like, anytime you play the Ice Wolves under Kaminski, it's always going to be a brawl. And they've sprinkled a little bit of some of that premium talent into that group. And they've won 2 of 3. They put up 50 shots on Warman, who actually doesn't have a bad decor at all, a bad team defensive structure at all. I think Kaminski and his staff are doing a terrific job up in L'Orange. What do you think?
Well, few things in life are guaranteed, but the one thing that is when you play the L'Orange Ice Wolves, Killer's got them working every time, right? So like you say, they work harder than probably anyone in the league on a day in, day out basis. And now they have, some guys with some skill, like you say, Perosny, Normand, Tail Feathers, Gardapi, pretty solid back end, and two good goalies that we saw both of them last weekend, and they both played exceptional in my eyes. Right. So Killer's got a formula, and he sticks to it, and he knows what works. And like it's back to what I said, and you said it a million times. You said it once. There's no easy games in this league.
That's right. And again, you throw in, you got the work ethic. You start with goaltending. You add the work ethic, and you always need to score a few goals. He pulled out a great trade. It looks like a great trade right now, and getting Trevor Oishi from Weyburn, picking up, pardon me, Evan Cook. It looks like a great pickup as well. They've got William Knox, who's had a couple of good moments as well. I mean, you just go through this, this L'Orange team, and there's some pretty underappreciated, underrated, especially younger guys. And I just love the job that they're doing up there. So impressive stuff. All right, now let's move on then to the second point in the hat trick, and it's more focused maybe on your team that you can talk about and you personally. But I guess a couple tough ones this week. Carter Cole salvaged a point, a heartbreak. Ewan Rennie is second in scoring this year. Ryan Williams is third in scoring this year. So it's tough that way. But obviously, you guys are definitely a team that's extremely deep, maybe more than at the top. But I guess just how do you see your team right now?
No, like we're happy with our group, right? Like when you bring, I can't even remember, 14 or 15 guys back from here, like you can't complain about that, right? And I think like our forward group's very dynamic. They play hard. Our D are once again dynamic. They activate offensively, and they're tough to play against, right? Like on paper, we have a really good team, right? And obviously there's been a lot of change since March last year, personnel wise and staff wise, and we're still working through some things to get everyone clicking and all that. But there's been a lot of bright spots rather. With like we've got stellar goaltending. Like I say, our D's played really good. We're super impressed with all our rookies, and now it's just we got to figure out a way to piece that all together day in and day out, right? Because you look at a record and we're losing games in overtime. So once again, there's a little bright spot there, and you're still getting a point. But let's figure out how to get a lead, play with a lead, keep a lead, and then you finish with 2 points instead of one. Makes everyone twice as happy.
Yeah, well, the Klippers have only lost once in regulation, 4 times in overtime or shootouts. I don't need to tell you. I'm sure your hairline, Kyle Schneider's hairline, maybe getting a little bit worse, even though you both have terrific hairlines. To start
I'm not great yet, Neugsie.
Well, you're doing great up there, I got to say. I got to ask you, how did you get involved with the Klippers? What's your background? For those that don't know you, like how is it that this came about for you?
Yeah, so it feels like forever ago now, but when I was 19, I quit playing football and moved home back to Saskatchewan, and the athletics had consumed my life for forever, and now I had all this free time on my own, and I wanted to figure out a way to try to get involved in hockey, and ended up reaching out to a guy that was a player advisor, player agent. Worked for him for 4 years, and then when Clayton came back to Kindersley a couple years ago, I was kind of introduced to him, and him and I kind of chatted about the prospect of me leaving the player representation side of it to move over to the team side, and to work with a guy like Clayton. It was kind of a no-brainer for myself. So I ended up moving over 2 seasons ago as GM, and then did that for 2 years, and obviously with Clayton's departure, got a little bit of a promotion, and that's kind of how I landed where I am today.
Hey, I mean, everybody, coaches around the league, Kyle McIntyre, all the Brett definitely obviously knows I love to pretend that I'm a GM and know what it takes to be one, but obviously I don't. And so obviously I yield to the people that actually do the hard job that it is. But what has been the most fun part of it I guess? And I'm not asking you to complain. I know you're not the complaining type, but what's the part that you're like, I could probably live with that, maybe that one? Like, what's the best part and what's the
Um,
not the least fun part?
well, I think the best part, and I'm going to paint with a broad brush here, is like this in essence is my first real job out of university, right? So I'm I'm pretty fortunate that I get to go spend my day with like-minded people, at the hockey rink, right? Like I'm not getting up and going to the cubicle just to punch in and then going home and to play on that a little bit. Like every day is different. Obviously in junior hockey you're required to wear a lot of hats, and that keeps things interesting,
Yeah.
right? Now to counter argue myself, the part that has been the most surprising to me is just the amount that is required completely unrelated to hockey. Like
Yeah.
you're dealing with with a lot of different people on a lot of different things, um, in the town and with sponsors and planning trips and all that stuff. Um, so it can be times, but it's so far I've found it to be a super rewarding job, and obviously have a great support system in Kindersley with our board and the rest of our staff. So I can't complain too much. I'm pretty fortunate to be in the position I'm in.
Yeah, and you speak about fortunate, and we need to keep moving, but working with a guy like Kyle Schneider, everybody knows the type of person that he is. Just talk about that dynamic. Not every team in this league, in the history of the league, even have had a GM and a coach. So for you to not only have that dynamic and ability to have two minds instead of one in that kind of a way, and also just working with Kyle, who's obviously young as well, in this sort of role as well, to have each other to work for. Just talk about that dynamic too.
Yeah, Schneid's is awesome. Like I'd put any money on it. There's no one that works harder um, at being a hockey coach than Kyle Schneider.
Mm,
I'll bet on anyone.
mm,
Um, but him and I've obviously had a relationship for a long time now. We kind of came up at the same time, if so to speak. Both younger guys, and we haven't like we see everything the right way, or the same way rather, not the right way. Which has been nice, right? Like we're on the same page with a lot of things. And obviously at the same time we the conversations where we challenge each other on different things, and it's not like a who's the boss thing. Like it's not a power struggle. It's
mm,
we can have open conversations and honest conversations, and
mm.
ultimately work to a resolution or an answer, right? So working with Schneid so far has been unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, big fan of his. Lots of people are kind of a crazy summer with moving from place to place and then landing there. But pretty cool. Last thing before we move on, then obviously Clayton Jardine is a guy that we all love and respect in this league, and obviously gave you kind of an opportunity there to at least some degree. I guess just what did you learn from him? How much are you still in touch with him? And what advice maybe has he given you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I learned from Jards is just like being a good person
Hmm.
is the biggest thing you can do, right? Like him and his wife Lindsay, whenever I was in town, housed me, fed me, took care of me.
Hmm.
Um, you know, Jards is still to this day one of my best friends. Him and I still chat, 2 or 3 times a week. Not quite the 2 or 3 times a day we did prior, but um, he just taught me like kind of all the intricacies of what goes into this job, and like I said before, like all the stuff that is beyond hockey. Whenever I have a question, he's right there to answer it for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, I am very for the opportunity he gave me, and hopefully I can continue to follow the path he had laid out here.
Yeah, awesome. For those that don't know, Clayton Jardine, head coach and GM of the Clippers the last couple of years. took the assistant coaching job in Red Deer in the Western League. And so he's off having a lot of fun there, I'm sure. Pretty cool. Got to move forward here. The last thing, before we get to our special guest, who, by the way, is a heavy hitter, Kian Bell, the Battlefords North Stars legend. We got a Battlefords guy and a Kindersley guy on the same call. I don't know if that was smart or not. We'll find out, I guess. But the last thing before we get to Kian is Western All-Star Challenge rosters will come out soon. That's the best I can tell anybody. Coaching staff will come out soon. That's the best I can tell anybody as well. But this is all me. This is all my opinion. This isn't the team. This isn't anything picked or a short list or whatever. This is just what I think are 6 locks that should be on the team based on what I've seen so far this year. Let's take a quick look at it. Fierson Lindorf from Mormon, 07 birth year, just a man already. Rowan Burgess breaking out with Weyburn. Wyatt Stinton, great centerman, gritty two-way centerman for Flin Flon. Waylon Gardapi is an 08, a little bit younger. And he can really fly. He can put up points too. Liked him last year when he was called up. Kaysen Kabelka has really been 1A and 1B at times for Melfort in net this year. And I think he's been wonderful. And then obviously your boy there, Gibby Cooper Flath. Obviously, Saskatchewan kid too. Is always good to have more Saskatchewan kids. I know Lindorf and Burgess are also Saskatchewan kids too. So as well as Gardapi. So pretty good to have Saskatchewan kids going to the thing for team the SJHL. Is there anybody, Gibby, on this list that kind of sticks out to you? Anybody that you think I missed was a glaring red flag? What do you think?
Well, I think obviously, producing at the level he is still as a Midget player is very impressive, right? I think as a whole, like, this tournament is so unique because you're capped with the amount of 19-year-olds you can bring. So that I think is going to be kind of the most interesting storyline, as what staff want to do in terms of a plan of how they're going to fill those 5 holes with their 19-year-olds. Like, do you go 2-2-1, or do you go 3-1-1, or 3-2 and no goalie? Like, that's what I think is the most interesting part. But I think there's a very, very long list that are capable and deserving to be in Martensville, and then obviously we'll see what goes on beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, guys that I didn't put on that could have put on, didn't want to make too huge of a list. Obviously, I think younger is better because it's not just the SJ and the MJ teams. It's also Alberta Junior League kids that are going to be involved with Canada West. And as you said, only like a small group of 06s. So let's try to be as young as we can and get our best young players. So that means, Ethan Dundas from Mormon, who I think could play up there. Cash Lanigan, who's an 08 as well, from the Yorkton Terriers, and Cole Dupuis, who I think is awesome big 08 power forward for the Estevan Bruins, who comes out of the Brandon Wheat Kings U18s. And boy, are they a factory, eh, Gibby? Like, they just produce kid after kid after kid in Brandon. So pretty impressive stuff. And, obviously it's not up to me. I wish it was that I had some sort of say, but I don't. But that's okay. We move on, and I know Kyle McIntyre and whoever it is that is making that decision will make that decision pretty soon, and we'll get that out to you, and then we can see how right I was with those 6 guys. But with that all in mind, let's take a quick look at the schedule for the showcase event. The Western All-Star Challenge will be in Martensville Recreation Center. Plan to come out, get your tickets. It'll be a lot of fun. The Manitoba League U19 All-Stars, who was in Warman last year, should be a lot of fun. The Junior A World Challenge is what it's called now. Will be in December. And that'll be very interesting to see as well. And obviously we'll keep tabs on that and any Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League players that make it to that event. I'll be there at the event. I understand Gibby will too, so it should be a lot of fun. Maybe we'll grab an apple juice or something like that, Gibby, while we're there in Martensville and the area. Should be a lot of fun. Make sure you come out and check it out. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, it is the 2-time SJHL MVP, Acadia University forward, who is having a great start to his AUS season. It is Kian Bell right after this on SJHL Insider. All right, SJHL Insider continues with the Success Starts Here alumni chat, where we talk to, I should say, alumni from the SJHL who went on to play post-secondary hockey or doing something else in their lives. Make sure you check out my profiles on these players based on these interviews every Wednesday. That comes out at noon. I've had a couple come out already this season, so make sure you check that out at sjhl.ca. But I'm thrilled now to be joined with Gibby by my good friend, a great dude, the son of Olympian Fiona Smith-Bell, who played for Team Canada at the Nagano Olympics, of course, if you didn't know that. But it is Kian Bell of Acadia University in the gorgeous Annapolis Valley in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. Kian, how are you doing, bud? It's so great to hear from you.
I'm doing great. It's good to hear from you too, Neugsie. Been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm sure it's not so great for Kindersley GM Ryan Gibson. But whatever, you guys can throw down fists later if you want. But I have
they were fun games to watch.
Yeah, I mean, hey, this guy terrorized everybody in the league. Kian did. I mean, you don't put up 3,000 points like he did if you're not public enemy number one. I got a lot of questions. I asked Kian. I asked the fans out there to send in questions, and usually when I do that, I get one or two drips and drabs. This time I got a whole bunch. So I got a whole bunch of fan questions for you. So we'll start that way, if that's okay with you, Keanu Bell.
Yeah.
The first one is from our good friend Jeremy Corrigan. And it's not really a question. It's more just a Marty Martenson impression of "Ring the bell, ring the bell." Do you have a ring the bell impression of Marty Martenson?
I can give you one. I don't know if it's good.
Give her.
Ring the bells, ring the bells. That's all I got.
There you go. Marty's a beauty. I bet you love. It must have fired you up to watch like a replay and Marty was calling it, eh?
Oh, he was the most enthusiastic guy ever. It didn't matter if it was a tap-in or a highlight, really. Make you feel good either way.
Yeah, he's a beauty. All right, I got Don Williams, Rylan Williams' mom, of course, who asked, what's the biggest transition that you've had to deal with going from junior to university hockey?
There's definitely been a few. I mean, last year coming in as a first year, I remember the first couple of practices, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can keep up to the speed. Like, the speed and the strength was such a big challenge. But off the ice and stuff, like school, and that was tough for me because when I was in Battleford, I wasn't in school, and cooking, I missed my billets. I missed coming home that's been a challenge. So there's been a bunch, but on the ice, it's just mostly been the speed, the strength, and everybody's extremely talented in this league, like the SJ, but just a lot older and faster.
Yeah, for sure. Gibby, you got one?
Yeah, Kian, I got one for you. Obviously you had a little bit of a previous connection with the Battlefords before you showed up, but my question is, how did Braden and the entire community of Battleford, help develop you as not only a hockey player but as a person?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like I grew up there. It was super special, coming into a community that, for my family, it was super well known, and I've been going there since I was a little kid to see grandma and my uncle and stuff. But once I got there, I really didn't know many people, but it seemed like everybody was super welcoming and brought me in with open arms, and it just helped me grow up, honestly, being that far away from home. And Braden's the best. Like, right, it didn't matter what kind of day you're having. You go to the rink, you see Braden and Chili, and along with all the other guys, it's going to make it a lot better. So just the whole community was super, super welcoming, and I think that was the most enjoyable part of playing there.
Yeah, got to shout out two more people too. Obviously, Kennedy Schmidt, who loved you boys and keeps doing everything she can for the Battlefords teams and keeps popping out babies, I think, as well. So congratulations to Kennedy. And then obviously the best PA guy in the league, Jay Crockett, though I know you can't answer that. You can't talk to that, Gibby, because I guess your boss kind of does it for you too, or one of your bosses anyway. So don't say anything. Kyle's good too. Cal's good too. Ashley Choke, I'm sure I'm asking that question wrong or saying her name wrong. I apologize. But, a couple of years ago in the off season, Kian, I was there, at the Battlefords Hall of Fame, the SJHL Hall of Fame induction. You and your uncle Marty obviously had your numbers retired there in the rafters there at the ACC. How did that feel? Obviously you had just kind of retired, or not retired, graduated. That's the right word I'm looking for. Graduated from the SJHL. Just how did that feel? At that thing, having your number retired and being sort of honored like that.
It was super cool. First of all, like you said, it was very soon after the season, and I just kind of remember sitting there and I thought it was just closing remarks, and then he kind of sprung that upon us there, and it honestly kind of went blank. It was just a really emotional. I remember me and my uncle both didn't know. He was sitting right across from me, and when they announced the number, we kind of looked at each other, and it was pretty emotional. It was just super honored. Like I was speechless. I still am. It's so cool to be able to have that with him forever, and just super grateful.
Yeah, for those that don't, Marty Smith, obviously a North Stars legend, now coaching the AAA U18 Battlefords Stars, coached the Junior Stars last year too. The Acadia Axemen Twitter themselves asked about your OT winner against Dalhousie. I guess, was it yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever it is? Typical Kian Bell, 2-on-1 snipe bar downski. That must have been fun.
Yeah, it was that was last night. We played Dalhousie in Halifax. We were down 3-0 going into the third. We have a good group here too, like super tight. We spend every day together. It's kind of very similar in that aspect to junior. We all believed in ourselves, and we ended up rallying back, scoring 3 goals, and then just in overtime, there's kind of a scrum in the corner. I picked up the puck and pretty much had a 2-on-1 from our blue line all the way down, but the ice was it was so choppy. I was like, I cannot pass this. So just close my eyes and shoot and hope it goes in.
Love that. Hey, I love the honesty. Remember asking Daz Mitchell, I was like, you close your eyes when a shooter's shooting at you, right? Sometimes he's like, oh, yeah, sometimes. All right, Gibby, you got one.
Yeah, kind of to piggyback off Neugsie here, Kian. What can you tell us about, obviously the hockey and just student life at Acadia, and then, what playing in the AUS as a conference is like?
Yeah. First off, just as a student, the campus is great. It's super compact. Like you don't have to go too far. Everyone's in walking distance when you're in Wolfville. It's also just a beautiful spot right on the water with a lot of tourism and restaurants and stuff. So the student life's great. Um, the community support is also just amazing. Like we averaged probably 1,500 plus fans a game, I think it was last year. So that also makes it super special. We have a great rink. And playing in this conference, you got the UNBs, who's just been a powerhouse for the last however many years. So there's only six teams in the league, I think. So it's everyone's super. Anyone can beat anyone on any given night. Very similar to the SJHL, where there's no freebies. You have to work your tail off no matter what. And yeah, it's been. I have no complaints so far. I've loved every second of it.
Yeah, no doubt. And little flex here, talking about flexes before the show started there with Gibby. But I was in the rink in 2007 when in Moncton, the University of New Brunswick beat the heavily favored Moncton Aigle Bleu in Moncton in the national championship, and Gardner McDougall's kind of run there. I know he's not there anymore, but run there in UNB took off. So that was a hell of a scene there, and it was a very quiet, very full Moncton rink that night. It was really awesome to see. Pretty cool. Okay, I got one more here from a fan, from Dylan Fiesel, the broadcaster of the Weyburn Red Wings, and it's kind of an important question for all of us around here. What are things that you learned from your time in the SJHL in general that helped prepare you for youth sports, and what is any advice that you give to those poised to make that jump? Maybe advice you gave to one Mr. Jordan Grill, who I don't know is sitting beside you or not, but you said that he might make an appearance. But yeah, how did the SJ specifically, and playing all the way on the other side of the country here in Saskatchewan, get you ready for university hockey?
Yeah, it's a loaded question. There's a lot of things, that, but the main takeaway for me was, I came from the QMJHL to the SJHL for junior hockey, and the QMJHL is known to be a skill league and is more so uh, possession of the puck, not very physical like it was with like the Western League, for example. So coming to the SJ, just playing in that physical atmosphere with a bunch of just bunch of smaller rinks, bunch like all that, just adjusting to the physicality, and um, that translates really well to AUS hockey. It's a lot bigger, stronger, and it reminds me in a lot of ways of the SJHL, where every night, like in the Q, you didn't really have to keep your head on too much of a swivel. Let's just put it that way. Whereas with the SJ, you knew when somebody's breathing down your neck. So that was very nice to get from the SJ to here. It kind of made it a little bit of an easier transition.
Last question then for you, Kian. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I just want you to go back to lining up along the blue line there in Portage, La Prairie, gold medal game, national championship. You had a team that was absolutely unbelievable that year for Battlefords, one of the best SJ teams that I've ever seen, probably the best team I've ever seen in the league. Just take us, that game against Brooks. I know kind of heartbreaking stuff, but just the feelings of pride that you had around that team as you were getting ready to fight for the national championship against a team like that.
It's a pretty cool feeling. I don't know if I'll ever get that opportunity again, along with lots of guys on that team. But I remember just lining up there, and we truly believe we could have beat them that game. We had countless amount of guys who were playing NCAA or U Sports now with Josh in the pipes. We felt like we were invincible half the time. So, just looking back at that game, it was pretty even, like hockey for most of it. They scored they beat us 4-0. I think all 4 of their goals came within like 4.5 minutes. It was just like once they got one, it was like 4 right away, but it was like 55 minutes of just back and forth hockey. So we were all super proud of each other. It was an unforgettable season where we pretty much accomplished everything up until that point. So we all wish that we could go back and play that one more time and see what would have happened. But Brooks is an unbelievable team. So either way, we're still super proud with a silver medal coming out of that game.
Yeah, for sure. And started a run of 3 straight championship appearances at the Centennial Cup for SJHL teams. So pretty cool legacy. Kian, I really appreciate you and your time. Make sure you say hello to Jordan Grill for all of us, of course, who's also playing at Acadia. Go eat some Scott skins, not too many because it's probably bad for your cholesterol. But terrific stuff. And Kian, thank you for your time, bud.
Thanks, Neugsie.
All right, that was Kian Bell. Gibby. Boy, was he scary to face for the teams in this league when he was around, eh?
He made me say a lot of swear words.
Yeah. He was just a shark, man, and he was never seemed afraid of a moment. The moment never seemed too big for him. I was going to ask him about pressure, but he seems to handle that well. So pretty cool. But time is running short here on SJHL Insider. But just let's look ahead to a very, very busy weekend in the SJHL. Fellas, if we can put the look ahead there, you see Nipawin and Estevan, Kindersley and Melville, Battlefords and Warman, Flin Flon and Weyburn. That'll be a tasty treat. Larange and Humboldt and Yorkton and Melfort on a Super Friday in the league. All 6 teams in action there on Friday. And then moving forward to Saturday, 5 more games. A bunch of them the reverses as Flin Flon with their crazy road trip continue. But I guess, if you look at those fixtures, I'm sure you'll be focusing on the Kindersley ones. But just talk about the if any of those games stick out to you there, Gibby.
Well, I think the one that jumps off the page on Saturday is Nipawin and Weyburn. Obviously Nipawin's on a heater. And it's good to see because obviously they struggled a little bit last year, but they had a plan and as of right now, their plan seems to be working, right? So the battle of the top there on Saturday will be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing that I always talk about is, obviously this Nipawin team has all these guys back, all this talent. Clearly, they're playing very well in all three zones. People were like, "Oh, what's up with this decor? How good are they?" Well, you know what? They don't give up much. They really don't. And so the question is, can they go up against a team that's been there in the hard miles in the finals against Melfort last year? And clearly, the Weyburn Red Wings learned a lot from that experience because they've played, that playoff style in-your-face hockey all year long. Pretty impressive stuff. Then just the last one before we call it a quits there, Gibby. We talk about the Kindersley Klippers. 2 straight number 8 finishes in the playoffs last couple of years. That means you have to face the big dog in the first round. I'm sure you'd try to avoid that. So what's the key for this group, obviously led by the likes, of Will Christian and Van Egger and Austin Oshovi, experienced dudes? What's the key to kind of getting over that hump and getting, the playoffs started at the Inter Pipeline Arena as opposed to, having to go to some big team?
Yeah, no, playing the first 2, that sounds awesome. But no, I think it's just, we gotta sort a few details out. Like I said earlier, we couldn't be happier with the roster we have, and if we thought we were just gonna walk through this season without any kinks, we were lying to ourselves. But couple detail things we need to straighten out, and like I say, like all 3 components of our team we've been very happy with. It's just we need all 3 of them to click at the same time versus two out of 3 or 1 out of 3, right? So I trust no one in the world to do it better than Kyle Schneider. So Schneids and I and Benny will keep working through some things, and we'll go from there. But like you say, our veteran group we obviously need to lean on, and we have some guys in some new roles that maybe haven't been there before or for a long time, and some guys still with some scars and some nicks we got to work through. But I have more confidence in that group of 25 than anything else, right? So it's just a matter of ironing the details out, and I feel very good.
Yeah, couple of years in a row of hitting hard on a rookie goalie. Obviously, Matthias Radke this year, O'Halloran, who's still there, of course, last year. So it seems like you guys got the components at least. Pretty cool. Gibby, thank you so much for your time. Let's look at the sponsors one more time here. Give them a little bit of thanks. Pay the bills, as they say. Help Faither out. Cantera Seeds, Canalta Hotels, Capital Auto, SGEU, Sask Lotteries, UPL, Chevy, Great Western, SaskTel, RBC, SCSA, and Vaderstad. Thank you so much. Thank you to Gibby. Thank you to the legendary Kian Bell. Gibby, thanks for doing this. Hope you had some fun. I know you did great.
Pleasure was all mine, Neugsie. Thanks, man.
It's a treat. And for everybody here in the back, Bryce, IKS Media crew, Jordan Blage, Kelly, and all of us here at IKS Media and the SJHL get the Western All-Star stuff out to you as soon as we can. And until then, make sure you get your Slow Hockey subscriptions, watch some good SJHL hockey, get out to the rinks, and have a great time. Enjoy the hockey, everybody.